Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode of CyberMasters, the technology show here in New York about all things technology and the human condition. We're very glad to have our great guest here, Chris Coluccio of TechWorks Consulting. We'll be talking about the big government hack that's been taking place. It's kind of, the offshoot conversation, things you don't hear every day about what's going on. Chris and I have been both in the industry for a long time. Chris has a very professional shop with a number of engineers, and he'll talk about that, TechWorks Consulting. But I can't wait to kind of get his opinion of what's under, what's under the carpet, what's under the rug there, sort of what do engineers talk about when they hear that your local government has been hacked and down for 3 weeks? Well, Chris, please tell us about yourself. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
Welcome to CyberMasters.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a blast to be here. I love doing this stuff with you. Always love talking to you. I know our conversations run deep, so I'm sure
you're a great philosopher and business person.
I'm sure. And I appreciate that. Yourself included. So I think from my standpoint, the conversations always are kind of like we knew it was going to happen stuff, which is sad because, we talk about this all the time. Most people don't listen to the warnings that we're giving them, or they don't really understand the just the ease of doing some of this stuff when your networks aren't taken care of. So none of us are shocked by these hacks because they happen so often. And especially if you run in the circles that we run in, where we're talking to some of these people that work in the counties and the politicians that are there, and they really just kind of, I guess there's kind of two things that go on with this. Is that they surround themselves generally with people that are probably not the best stewards of our data, or claim to be.
Good point. They're not the latest technologists, if you will, with the latest info.
Maybe they've been around for a long time. They've been doing the job. They were great at what they did when they did it, but they don't necessarily change with the times because they don't have to.
Well, it's a general mentality of a union shop anyway, right?
Yeah. And there's also a lot of cronyism of the same people get the same contracts, and so we look at it from that. So we get frustrated with that stuff, right? Because we talk to them from a standpoint that is, we could really help you out. We could really do better work for you.
Yes.
And they sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't, but most of the time they don't.
Why don't they listen? Because they spend a lot of money. They're listening and they're spending.
Listening to somebody. Just I don't think the right people. I mean, Suffolk County spends. I mean, we saw the numbers since 2019.
$60 million a year.
Well, $60 million, but $6.5 million since 2019 just on cybersecurity.
How much? 6.9.
6.5. Well, the number was 6.5 million on cybersecurity. Like they spend 6.5 million on cybersecurity initiatives.
Okay.
And the entire network is down. Like
4 weeks now.
4 weeks. And and I know that if I could ever get my hands on that type of money, they would have the most hardened network. I mean, they'd be rivaling Fort Knox for people trying to get in,
Sure.
You don't see that
But what makes you think you can get them to allow that they will allow your security features that you recommend?
Well, I mean, they're spending for something, right? They're spending money.
Well, they're buying stuff, but they're not installing it correctly.
Yeah, they're buying stuff. People are selling them stuff, and they're surrounding themselves with either, I guess, cronies that tell them what they need, or people that don't know how to set it up, or maybe they're overwhelmed. I don't know, but certainly
you can't blame the politician. They may not know the details, but they're spending and spending, thinking they're secure.
You can blame the politician because they should have somebody that's putting a plan together. I mean, their job is to put plans together and to surround themselves by people that do that work, and when in any business, you have to surround yourself with people that are at least going to deliver something back to you that shows that they're proving the job that they're doing.
Yeah, but hold on. So they have to have some value. I mean, there are people who are delivering some value. There have to be, no?
No, why does there have to? I mean, listen, there's value in some of this stuff because, so somebody's delivering value because they're keeping an old Novell server up and running, right? That guy's providing value to us and we're paying for that, and he's keeping.
How is the non-technical politician manager supposed to understand what you just said?
So by setting some baselines and bringing in some people that tell them these are the kind of things that you should be looking at a regular basis, or even saying that any concept is this kind of trust but verify. Like you live your life in that kind of trust but verify model when you're in this field, right? Oh,
But the
do I have
politicians
backups? Oh, okay. Do I have backups? Yeah, Chris, you have backups. Yeah, Chris, you have backups. Yeah, Chris, you have backups. You keep saying it. Okay, when was the last time we restored from a backup? If you never ask that second question, then you don't have backups.
But
You know what I'm saying?
non-operational leaders who may be politicians don't understand the requirement of testing every year, if you will.
That's the job of a leader, though, is to start figuring that stuff out and to understand what you need to keep yourself. I mean, cybersecurity is not like when 37 other organizations got hacked right around you. Then your job is to kind of look at that stuff. I mean, listen. I say it all the time. We're all kind of stupid in our own special way, but you got to at least, you can't listen to one person that tells you this is the way to do it. You have to.
Yeah, hold on. There's a structure. There's going to be the county executive, his deputies, commissioners. There's a whole downline of people that are responsible for this, Chris.
Correct. There's a whole downline of people that are responsible for this, but ultimately in any business, we're the responsible people that and he is the CEO of a corporation that is Suffolk County, and
what are they, a $4 billion annual spend county or something like that? $4 billion?
I thought it was more than that. But
I think it's about $4 to $5 billion.
It's one of the largest in the country. I mean, there's some countries that almost don't have the GDP that Suffolk County has. I mean, it's that big. It's a massive. There's almost 2 million. There's 2 million people in Suffolk County almost, and I don't understand, and it's hard for me to understand how things could go this catastrophically wrong, and I don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on in the back end, but being a part of these seeing data breaches before, seeing other organizations, doing the research and how things were recovered and not recovered, and having to do some recoveries ourselves on this stuff. I just don't. The scope of this and the ability and the necessity for them to be down for this amount of time without bringing up some services or giving us some kind of.
They have the alternate website. Wait a minute.
What is an alternate website? I could put a website up in 20 minutes. It's just a bunch of words on a piece of paper. It's not servicing anybody. It's not getting titles cleared. It's not clearing out parking tickets or that people need to be able to get a permit or something like that. It's not doing any of that
the
stuff.
Aftermath of this hack is yet to be seen, if you will.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, just take the title industry, mortgage industry, the real estate industry. These guys are they're. I mean, I have a lot of friends in that area. They are suffering.
They're not processing. Oh my God, they're not processing any orders.
They are suffering. They're losing thousands upon thousands of dollars a day because they can't approve. Nobody can buy a house. You can't buy a house right now.
But I'm told the systems are down until things are better. It's like they took it down for a reason. It doesn't have to be down. It's a matter of slow recovery. Is that the case?
Well, here's what so when the initial press conference went out with Bologna, the first thing they said was, we don't think that it's a ransomware, right? We did it out of an abundance of caution that we shut everything down.
That was the first interview.
Right. So we did it out of an abundance of caution, not that everything was hacked, not that we even knew it was ransomware. So out of an abundance of caution, they took all this stuff down, assuming that. But then, if it was an abundance of caution and those servers weren't affected by that, then you can put those servers back up. You can make full backup copies of those servers in a relatively short amount of time.
Sure.
And you can put those servers up virtually in a machine.
Surely.
And run them sandboxed where they're not connected to the internet and they're not. And you could process stuff and people could look at that stuff and they could have some systems up and running to get some of those services, or at least to say we're making some progress. But the FBI's involved and Homeland Security's involved, and they're maybe telling them not to do some of these things.
Aren't they getting grant money for taking this action as if it was a weather emergency? Isn't it the case where the grant money is being put in to deal with this?
I don't know. I don't know where the money is coming from. I don't know how much it's going to cost, but I'm assuming that there's going to be,
As a positive thing, they're getting backing from the state to solve the problem.
Okay. I mean, I guess is that a good thing that that this should never happen? So how is that positive? I don't know. That's not a positive to me from my standpoint. If they had actually purchased the cyber insurance that was recommended to them, and if they had gone through that, if and I know now that.
Oh my God, they didn't have the cyber insurance like the schools.
But you also know that if you went to a cyber insurance company right now and said, "Hey, I want to insure the county," they're going to go.
It's a little late.
Not even that it's a little late. They would have said, okay, well, they would have at least asked some questions. Where are your backups? How do you do your backups? Mm-hmm. You know the question. You go through this checklist nowadays. Surely. Because these cyber insurance companies have been burned so much that those are the kind of things that start telling the people that are running them that you're not doing things correctly, because the cyber insurance companies aren't even going to insure you.
Now, hold on a moment, because you know as well as I do in this region, the governments are very splintered. What if there was an effort, it just wasn't achieved to get everybody into the same network, if you will, to do the proper penetration testing and security barriers?
So, I mean, I guess, the answer to that is, we on Long Island, we like our fiefdoms of these little pockets. And in some cases, actually, that's not terrible, because if this was all in one big system, and
services would suffer.
Then sure. Brookhaven would be down, and Islip would be down, and these other areas might be down too. So there's a separation in some cases that's good, so that and then there's so shared services, yes, from a standpoint of saving money and putting them into an area where they're all taken care of well, but still I think that the separation. I mean, I think that there should be separation. Why is the police department servers on the same as the civil servers? I mean, they're two different needs, and is that a super admin across all of them?
We're assuming it's not like that. The general public or IT folk assume it's not like that their VLAN's separated.
We're assuming that they did the wrong thing because they infected all of the networks in one shot. That's what I'm assuming.
But a targeted attack can get there. I'm surprised it's had such an effect.
A well-designed network with real segmentation, with minimal or zero trust,
yes, sir.
Should not affect the phone system that went down also at the same time, and I mean, certainly, if you infected if you're talking about infecting just the servers, but if you infected the network because they're not patching their systems, and those network switches are actually because those are computers now too, and we know that one of the things that what we're assuming is that the Veeam backup server that they used to run their backups was actually one of the ways that they got in, or at least they knew that they could exploit that, because it wasn't patched. And there's been a vulnerability since May that they said everybody needs to patch their stuff. And but there's systems involved. Like, if you really run a good IT system, a relatively well IT system, you should be able to report on here's all. I mean, they're still running Windows 7 machines, and you and I know, and I'm sure we probably have some clients that are still running, but we're beating those clients up every day. You can't use this stuff, and if you're going to use it, you got to have the best virus checkers and EDRs and SOC services. And how does the county not have a SOC service?
Now hold on a second.
Security operation.
As a former commissioner, it's difficult to overcome certain groups. You say you have to get a Windows XP. Well, I'm the Duke of Notre Dame, and this is my software, and don't talk to me.
Then see, so this is in this world. If I'm you and I'm doing that thing, I'm going to say, okay, Duke of Notre Dame, I want you to sign this piece of paper that says you affirmatively said no.
I did. They didn't care.
I understand that. But now those are the documentations that you have on your website that says here, because you're gonna be the one that goes down, right? Maybe those guys did everything right. Maybe they tried to do everything right. Yeah. But who's going to take the fall, right? The IT guy.
There's a big message here for the both of us. So there are very big companies getting very large contracts.
Sure.
And the county, as well as the other governments, have probably spent in the tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet, when you look at the reality of what's going on, it's technologists who have the power that you and I have to get in there into the weeds and make sure these upgrades aren't ignored. But yet, throughout all of America, especially in our region, all these really fancy companies are hired, and they don't have the manpower nor level one resources to put on all these customers they need to meet their sales requirements.
So
know what I mean,
we
bro?
find a dichotomy, right? I really find this, especially on Long Island, with the way things are, because we take care of a few townships and some of their information, and we find two things, right? We find that there are those that went out and were convinced to spend lots of money to do all of these things, and somebody convinced them to do it, and they spent a lot of money and they put it out there, but they never actually really set these things up, and they never do the entire job. And then we find the other side of the gamut, I guess.
Yeah, the other spectrum.
They have the same technology. It could be an outsourced person like us. It could be in it that's been doing the same thing for them for 20 years, and they really like that. Oh, we trust. And then we come in there, and I mean, and you can look at some of the towns that are doing RFPs right now, and we've done a few RFPs recently, and you're like, and I know because I bid on a town 5 years ago, and you know, we bid on this town, and they said to us, well, we really liked you guys. You were the best, but they decided to go with the incumbent, and the incumbent, I knew at the time, was doing terrible work for them, right?
Yeah.
And the two people that were, you know, so one person got the pick. That was the so there's a lot of this in a lot of the towns here of the old IT company that's been doing it forever, or the so there's a lot of that leftover stuff that people trust them, or they've donated. I don't know. I mean, there's always the donate to the campaigns. There's always I mean, that stuff always going to go on. But
they're
somehow or
choosing
another,
the same old, and they're getting the same result.
Because they're not using standards. They're not saying we want to meet a level standard, and you have to meet that standard. The thing about the public sector right now is that none of them are really being required to meet the same standards that our private sector businesses are being meet. Like, you know, if I have somebody in manufacturing right now, Boeing is going, we're not doing work for you unless you do these things, right?
You have to meet these compliance barriers.
You got to do this stuff, right? So, but nobody in the public sector is holding that. They're not being held to those same NIST standards. They're not being held to those same levels. So the people in there are going, yep, I'm signing off. We did that. We're doing this stuff. I mean, I from what I can see, Suffolk County had a Palo Alto server that should have been able to at least detect some of these things. Right? You know,
that's leading gear, man. That's like the
top
latest
of the line,
gear,
right? What was it doing? So that's where you see, like, you're like, well, what were they setting up? Were they this incompetent, or were they this? You know, like I don't know.
They had leading cybersecurity consultants on the team during when this happened. I mean, what do they have to say about this? Well, they get on camera and talk about, well, there was this or that. I mean, we're talking about the aftermath. It's after the fact, guys.
Unimpressed by anything I've seen so far from, you know, that cybersecurity, these groups that are out there. They're not trying to name anybody specifically, but
you and I compete against larger companies in this region who say a lot of things, and when I see these hacks, they're the vendor there. Have you seen the same?
Yeah, well, we've seen that. We know that at least one or two of these vendors have been in the room when these hack, or, you know, in bed, or I don't want to say in bed. Right. They've been a part of the organization or responsible for some of the cyber for these municipalities over and over again. We were the
better deal. We were the better value solution at a lower cost. Yet the other guys were chosen, and look what the result is, sir.
Well, because there's money, there's pomp and circumstance, there's, you know, we have to go with the big. I mean, it's, you know, it's you never, you know, nobody's ever been fired for buying Cisco, even if the Cisco was the worst equipment you could have bought. In some cases, I mean, usually it's good equipment, but it might, but who cares if it's the best equipment if it's not even being set up correctly, you know? So. They know how to schmooze. They know how to do something we don't know how to do, which is get in and maybe.
So it's schmoozing instead of talking tech, because the tech talk is annoying.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like I said, I think that they know how to put on a show. They know I mean, if you know, if you think about the movie Chicago, if you ever see that scene where he does the razzle dazzle, you know, that's what there's a lot of razzle dazzle. No, you can leave it down. That's fine. So you can. You know, we talk about it, there's the razzle dazzle, and that's what they do. And they're razzle dazzle. They're fancy. They look good. They say all the right things. They got all the right people.
Hold on. Look at you. You look fabulous, sir. You look fantastic.
But I'm not I'm not a
on.
showman like you know these guys. I mean, we know
them.
We know these companies that claim constantly to be a lot more than they are.
They're at the helm with these hacks.
Yes.
They're named names, hack after hack, school after school.
And they've somehow or another been there through 3 or 4 of these hacks and are still coming up as the preeminent organization.
As the premier vendor.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Now, once again, we're not in the room, and we don't know that they weren't sitting there saying, do all of this stuff. We don't know. I don't know. I didn't look.
Good point.
I didn't FOIA how much they spent with these companies. I didn't, look at that data out there and say, well, okay, well, this company's there, but they only spent, $50,000 with them. So what were they going to do anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know that information. I just know that something's weird with this because you can't spend that kind of money and get, you can't have who's responsible for their backups? I mean,
so let me just
somebody's responsible. Let's take this one piece. Somebody is responsible for the backups of our county, right? And making sure that and anybody who runs backups and is responsible for backups knows that you're supposed to have a separation of the backup that you have somehow or another, separated from the rest of your network so that they can't get infected, or if they do,
Sir,
you have, especially in something that large.
Sure.
Who's that responsible party, and how the heck did that? I mean, that's you don't even with our guys. We go to work the day, and it's like, okay, do our clients have a backup? Yeah. Okay. Does it work? Oh, it didn't work today? You don't do anything else.
Right.
You make sure it's there. You make sure it works. That's the first responsibility that we have.
Of course.
So who set this stuff up and said, oh, it's good enough? This is Suffolk County. It's not my client that's got 10 people and and they have better technology and setup than Suffolk County does.
Let's take a look. Ghostbusters? Who are you going to call?
And this is in the patch, right? Not News 12, not Newsday, not the Post, not the Fox News, not the this is one of the largest counties in the United States.
Come on, they're doing PR control. Congratulations to the PR control.
How many people saw that article? 6? I like the patch and all, but come on.
PR control. They're making it happen.
Come on. How many people saw that article? How many people went out there as much as and even if they put that out there, how many people even there's a subset of our town that don't even know how to use computers, don't know what their credit score is, don't know that their data is being stolen.
They don't know how to freeze or block any of that.
That's okay. Well, we told them what to do. Okay. What are you covering? That's I got to say 60-70% of the people wouldn't even know how to start to do that,
So, sir, let me put this into a little bit of perspective, and I want to say this earlier. You and I have clients nearly the size, if not larger, than this government in terms of dollars spent per year. I have a client that is about the size of that. And I assure you that if they were to go down in their global enterprise, I can bring them back up. We are assurance of that. How can these vendors not have assurance for Suffolk County of the same way I feel about my private clients about the same size and spend?
I don't know, but you know as well as I do that almost every municipality that you've seen and touched recently is the same way.
Is it egotistical to say that I feel very confident that I could handle, and I know you could handle something far better than our larger competitors?
Listen, I'm sure there's there are larger competitors that are as good as us. They're just not the ones that are also in, they're not in this space.
They're bigger, but can they produce their A team when their client needs it, or are they chasing sales goals?
Yeah, and listen, there's good companies that are large, and there's good companies that are small, and there's bad companies, and somehow or another, these municipalities generally seem to be playing with the same bad companies, whether they be big or small. And I think that's what the problem is that they're not. There's no standards that are being put out there for us to meet, to say we're going to meet those standards. We're going to deliver.
Then the standards are there, and if you get insurance, you're supposed to follow those routines,
right.
man.
So I don't think it's the size of the organization that matters. I think it's holding yourself to, like everything else in our lives or whatever, it's holding ourselves to a value and a standard that says we're going to do good work. We're not just going to take the money and go buy a boat with it, and or three. But that has nothing to do with necessarily the size of the organization. I don't think it's about the size of the organization. I think it's about actually delivering the things that your clients deserve for what they're paying for.
I'm sorry, these governments have an impression that if you can fill out these fancy RFPs, you must have the best tech team and A team available for us.
Yeah, so something's wrong with the government that they keep picking the same wrong people for whatever reason, whether that be cronyism, whether that be because they like flash and razzle dazzle, whether they don't know how to research, or whether they're, or whether we don't know how to fill out an RFP as well as somebody else does.
Interesting.
But somehow or another, and it's not about the size, because like I said, one of the townships that I lost to 5 years ago, having spoken with some of the people that left that organization, said that you were the ones we wanted to use. Your plan was better. Your ideas were better. We liked you guys better.
Yeah.
And one person over there said,
"What the heck?"
That's the one they used. Wow. So that stuff goes on all the time. It's not because it's not about the goals. It's about other stuff. The goal should be redundant. Like, are we trying to be the best stewards? Is the town trying to be the best stewards of our data, or are they just trying to give out a contract to make themselves look good or feel good?
Do you think the general
money,
public is aware in how far in the toilet most of these governments are with the technology?
No idea. No, they think that they're doing good. I mean,
you hear stories of Edward Norton. Look at the advanced stuff we're doing.
What advanced stuff? They think that because they went out and bought some software as a service package that can deliver permits a little bit better, that the whole back end of the organization is set up properly and they have the proper processes and procedures and onboarding, and that there's not one admin account that can shut down the whole network, or that they're patching their stuff. And this is, like I said, it's about the trust and the verify.
Yeah, totally.
Where's the verify piece of this? Where's the reports that they're putting out to us?
These governments have selection committees that's supposed to know all this stuff.
Okay,
man.
But where is the delivery that we, the people who pay for their services, can say, this is what we did with your money for IT, so that somebody like us can look at it and go, that's a crock of crap.
Well, take a look at this. Take a look.
You didn't tell $8 million, right? That's what they were asking
Yes,
for, right?
right.
So pay $8 million, put this stuff up in a sandbox, start getting it down, start rebuilding your data, start transferring up, start putting professionals on there, and tell us that you're going to say,
What about the $100 million that was spent in the last 5 years securing the place?
Oh, what about how much money do you think they're spending on everything else right now? You think it's going to cost a lot more than $8 million? So if there's a chance for $8 million, which seems like a lot of money, but really in the whole scheme of things is not a lot for the Suffolk County.
I don't see a lot of hope. They're still not hiring people like me. They're hiring all the fancy people all over the place.
If you could pay them $8 million, get all the data back, and assume that all of your systems are totally, completely hosed, but you got the data back, and you could rebuild it by going through and recovering that data properly, and maybe that's what they're doing. I have no idea. But that would be the plan that I would, to be honest with you, it sucks that you have to say that, because the reason we're paying them is because somebody did a poor job with our network. Somebody did a poor job with our county's network, that we should even have to think about paying that stuff, because you and I, we would think we were the ultimate failures in the world if anything like this ever happened to one of our
Now hold
clients.
on. They're talking about check your credit report, right? What, do you realize it's 1.5 million residents, and those are just the ones they counted?
And go look at that patch article and tell me how many people saw it. You know what I'm saying?
That
Should be the front page of Newsday. Right? The front page of New York Times, that's how many people that are, like, that stuff should be out there. If Suffolk County put that out,
great PR for hiding it. Look, LA schools last month couldn't hide it.
I just, this stuff is,
They
like I
didn't
said,
have cyber insurance. They were siloed. Everything's down. I mean, what are we in? This is like really low end here.
But you have to believe that with all of the hacks and all of the municipalities and all of the stuff that have been, like, this is not something that just like popped up out of the blue, right? I mean, this has been going on seriously since.
Yeah, this is a cancer. This is like a tear that
right,
turned into a cancer.
and they've been telling people that it's going to happen, and we've been telling people that it's going to happen, and I've been talking to politicians, and you've been talking to politicians, and we all know that these things can happen, right? And then they're like,
you get me all riled up, man.
you
This
know,
is
like,
getting
come
crazy.
on, like, I don't know. I'm just this to me.
They don't. I mean, it's our data. It's our homes. It's all our data. We have to check our credit reports because of this.
It's
Come
just
on, man.
the lack of transparency. But I mean, if you think about it, like, where's the opposition on this too? Where are the people that are trying to? Where's the media?
There's no opposition. They don't understand computers. They're
It's not.
afraid. Come on.
I understand computers. Any of those opposition people could call me or you up and say, "What should we be asking a politician?"
We don't
right
seem
now?
credible.
Credible. Come on.
You got to be a rich guy with a house in Sands Point to say, "Oh, well, he must be a credible IT guy because he's got a house in Sands Point that he got from his grandfather."
It's not that. I mean, because there's plenty of people. I mean, some of these people I know for years. If they wanted our information and they know us, you have credibility. You used to run Nassau County's IT. You have
No,
credibility.
they don't like me. I got a big mouth. Can't you tell from the show?
Well, I understand that, but if they wanted us on the back end, if they wanted to just call us up and say, "Hey, could you tell me what questions we should be asking?" Right? Could you tell me how this scenario might play out?
I've called Republican leaders. They don't want to talk about it.
So
they don't talk about the ledge, even the hack that happened in December. They don't want to talk about it.
So why is that? What are they afraid of? Are there guys in there they don't want to, they don't want to rile? They're waiting. I don't know.
Perhaps they think I have bad intentions. I don't. I'm talking about it live on the show with thousands of people.
I'm telling you, it's not. It's not you. So don't. That's not a. They're not doing it for anybody. Do you know what I'm saying? They're not.
Yeah,
reaching
but they should be calling you. All of us in the forum. How can you solve this?
You know that on Long Island, there's a lot of good IT companies out there.
Yes,
with good people.
Yes.
I mean, there's thousands of IT companies, but there's hundreds of good ones that we would be proud to say, okay, if our client went to them, that they're going to get some goods, and there's good people in those organizations that they could call and say, hey, what's going on here? How would you guys do that? So there's plenty of us out there, right? I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm special because I'm special because you let me on your show, but there's a lot of really good IT people.
I'm sorry, I think you're special, and I know you're special, and I know I'm special, and I'll tell you why. We have been SWAT team style IT specialists who have to fight for our deals because we get them taken away from people who are quite incompetent at times, and we've become really good at caring about a customer and going down the rabbit hole so this doesn't happen, sir.
Right. And so yes, but there's what I'm still saying is that there's a lot of people on the island. The numbers bear out that there's other people that are like us and work as hard as us and do those things.
And our force is the one who could solve this problem, not me and you together, but the rest of the 600 out here.
Sure. So going back to that model, it's not that they don't like you. They're not contacting anybody. They're hush hush. They're quiet. So that's where the conspiracy theories come from. Why? Who's in bed with who? Who's doing this? Where's the Who's the responsible party in Suffolk County that's going to stand up and say, what happened? Like, who's the IT director that is out there and saying what's going on? Nobody. So what you hear...
Isn't it clearly see it's PR control all over the place?
And what you hear, and you understand some of this, you understand it to a point that the FBI is telling us not to say anything. And that's what you're hearing from the politicians that are in there and the IT people that are there. They're telling us not to say anything. The FBI's got it. Okay, I mean, great, but this is not.
Well, they can't say anything because their telephones are down.
This is not a private organization, though. This is an organization. It's not a private organization that could say we're willing to deal with the repercussions of not saying anything. This is a public sector entity that we have to deal with the constituents have to deal with it.
Politically, this could be bad if it got out nationally. I mean, come on.
It's going to be bad either way. It's just who really gets affected. I mean, there's going to be lawsuits. There has to be lawsuits from this.
They're going to be the poster child of governments getting hacked for the next 2-3 years. Do you realize that?
The way this looks with no information coming out. I mean, the problem is that they might be doing the best phenomenal job that they could ever possibly do.
You got to share with the public, bro.
You got to give us some confidence. There's got to be. I mean, it's just there's got to be somebody there that can look you in the eye and say, I'm not going to tell you what's going on, but I got it covered, right? You would buy that, right?
Yes,
You'd buy that. If I walked up there and I'm going to say, listen,
yes,
here's the deal. I can't tell you what's going on, but I got this covered the best that we can. At least they'd give me some confidence. Somebody who looks honest, acts honest, and tells you to your eye that I'm working the best I can for the people of this county. Where is that? Where's that person? If Steve Malone came up and said that, I know, guys.
Yes.
I know this sucks. I know this is terrible. I'm in it with you, and we're going to fight, and we're going to get this stuff, and we're going to get it back the best that we can. It might take a long time, but we're in it together. Where's that guy? Or woman? Or anybody? Nobody does that.
Well, there's a consultant there is doing that.
Oh, no, don't. No, we're not. It's garbage. Which means that we elect, in some cases, some people who don't have the right.
Chris, hold on a second.
Get me into politics now, and
I'm
an IT guy.
It's important to understand, if you talk to these attorneys, if you talk to government people, the IT problem is low down the rung. They got to take care of the homeless. They got to take care of this. IT is just not a priority.
You know as well as I do, for any business right now, that IT is what runs every business.
On their list, it's still low in taking care of things in the government. We got to take care of the roads. We got to try to fix the roads. We got to do
yes, but
all the things that aren't working. They got to try to get to.
So the town of Brookhaven, right? They share their contracts with Suffolk County. They do their bidding and they get their ordering through them because they have a shared service on that. They can't do that right now. They can't order stuff properly. They can't get I mean, that's
the roads around here are disgusting. Like we're in a third world nation in most neighborhoods,
and we still pay for it. I mean, nothing about anything we do is not about having enough money to do it. It's always about doing it. I mean, this is IT. It's not about this is not about not having enough money for IT.
Can you imagine they come to your neighborhood and some guy puts some stuff on your ground and it bubbles up and it looks disgusting and is how they patch every hole. It's disgusting.
Well, I mean, that's
really low end.
So that is the physical equivalent of what we do with our IT, right? It's the same thing. It's the physical. You're talking about the streets. Look at how bad our streets are. That's our IT. And we all know that you could fix it. And we spend tons of money to patch and do this and keep all. It's the same thing. It's just somebody's not really responsible and nobody really cares because they're getting paid to do their job and they're getting their pensions and they're going to be out in a couple of years.
But let's talk about the structure a little bit. So you and I are able to lay out our engineering team where they can do multi-platform. Okay, you may have your core network security guys. You have your server guys, but there's cross-blending because they got to get a job done, and you got to send the invoice out and get paid. There is such an extreme level of fiefdom in government. It's to an extreme in IT, where the IT aide can't do what the specialist does, the network guy's not allowed to touch servers, and it's literally people's livelihoods are based on this position. So there was one story, I just want to tell this real quick, so I couldn't believe it, and this apparently was true, that somebody was stuck in traffic and they saw on the side that there was a town worker digging a hole. Then he would go forward and dig another hole, and the guy behind him would come and fill the hole. And the guy said, well, what the hell are you doing? Oh, the guy who plants the trees took the day off, but we still want to get paid for the day.
Okay. I mean, isn't
that what's happening in IT? The guy who was responsible for that thing was off that day?
Maybe, but that I guess the answer from my standpoint is you had a plan, and you have if you put a plan together and you say trees have to be planted by this day or whatever, or your IT has to be done, and you put in a plan and you have goals and then that stuff shouldn't happen, right? Because somebody should be able to see that those people went out there and did that work because you had a project plan and they went and they did that, and you still don't have the job done, right?
In government, in that position you hold,
it's not just government.
Is worth a lot. No, in your team, you can move around.
Yes. I mean, there's always, but you start to scale up, and I mean, it's IT's not IT.
Can I blow your mind for a second? Are you ready to have your mind blown?
Sure.
All right, here I'm going to put this camera on. In a county in our region, employee assessments are against the law. When I said this to the head of a major school organization, he couldn't believe it, and he verified that it's illegal to assess your employees in this particular county. That's what happens in some of the governments around here.
So, what's the root cause of that? And that is it the unions? Is it the politicians that allow that to happen? Is it people that vote for these politicians? Is it because they have the unions, so they got the union, so that like there's a root cause, and a lot of it has to do with our values and standards that says it's okay to keep incompetent people in any position for an extended period of time because they're going to vote for me, they're going to vote the right way, they're going to keep me in office, they're going to say the things I want to do when they're going to have my back when the ransomware happens, and they're not going to say anything. So there's a lot of root causes to that. A lot of it comes down to values and accountability. But
I think it's important to also realize the fact that compared to a kingdom or family government, you still have a chance of change every 4 years. There's still a chance of something, right?
Yeah, if you assume that, and this is a big question right now, and something probably we're going to be talking a little bit about on the radio again tomorrow is. How are our elections going to run in a couple months? If this they're not, what's going? We have.
Man,
how bad is the Board of Ed? The Board of Ed,
elections.
Board of Elections affected by this? How what ballots are going out when so what?
Well, they're still running USB discs back to headquarters at the end of elections. So welcome to the 90s.
The 90s. I mean, I honestly at this point I would love to go see the old machines come back and just flip a lever because you know as well as I do. I mean, if it's got electricity running through it, it could probably be hacked, right?
Yeah.
So.
Now, people realize that at the end of the day, at every county, every place in America, a box of USB disks is created and driven back to the Board of Elections headquarters where it's processed in a computer system. Mm-hmm. And that is the most secure method that's currently being used. Correct, sir?
Yes. It's... they're not supposed to be connected, although, there's... they're
never on the internet, of course.
Yeah, of course. Right, but they've already proved so they have. Why do they have modems in them at all? Then what? So
correct.
And so it's funny.
We're online, but we're not online.
Okay, so it's funny because I believe it was a book that came out in like 1996. I read it. It was called Voter Scam, and it was all about how governments would use these new electronic voting machines to, and they go through very, very detailed about
Really?
about how they're going to use these voting machines. And if you think about it, like I've never been a proponent for electronic voting. I think it's at least not with a paper backup. Not with a punch machine that's inside that machine also that's punching that data at the same time. And
so that voting machine became like a casino machine at this point. You're not sure if you're going to hit the jackpot.
I mean, I think about it all the time. I tell everybody, and everybody doesn't believe me. I'm like, you grab this piece of paper that you put on and you stick it in there and it goes, okay, your ballot was cast. You get no receipt that says what your ballot was.
Yeah.
You have no ability to go check online to see if what your number you cast matched the thing. There's no ability for us to guarantee whatsoever that, and it's just a 1 and a 0. And
you have to trust the system.
1 and zeros can be changed very simply, and as we see, everything can be hacked.
And Bill Gates left it open. One of the first major guys who leave all that stuff open to be hacked. I mean, every Microsoft product, one after the other, hackable to no end.
How can you continue to have, and we talked about this, right? Part of the issue is not just the IT people at Suffolk County being inept, overwhelmed, underpaid, undereducated, whatever. That's not, part of the problem is we buy products from these companies that do a terrible job protecting us. They don't really care in a lot of cases whether they're putting out products that are safe or secure or private. They don't care. They just put them out there because they got to get to market quicker, so they're not good. And then even if they do take our data, they're not good stewards on the back end of it anyway. They're just doling it out to people, and nobody knows what we're doing with it, or they're getting hacked themselves. I mean, if Sony can, I mean, if Suffolk County gets hacked, but Sony PlayStation gets hacked, and and 200 million,
totally. And that stuff's been on the dark web for how many years now?
Right.
You know.
So like, okay, Suffolk County's not even nearly as big as like from an IT standpoint as Sony PlayStation. But
look, Suffolk County is saying a lot of things about Black Cat and what's happening on the dark web. Do you think they're being credible with their stories?
Well, I don't know what Suffolk County's saying because they're not saying a lot of that stuff. A lot of stuff that I'm seeing with Black Cat and that.
Well, they're saying that check your credit report because your stuff got out and it's for sale. You know.
Right. So we have that, but. So I look at looking at these websites. Like I said, there's one called databreaches.net. If you go up and you search that for Suffolk County,
databreaches.net. We'll pull it up.
A great site to go look at what at least the most recent information is that what's being put out there. And like I said, I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, this is just a psychological campaign. This is just. They're if you go, I mean, if you look at this, the Reddits and the other and some of the other things that are credible people that some of them I know that are IT people are actually going out and saying, well, this is just a front so that they can delete data off the networks and it's redactive recovery and we're only going to get so much back and we're going to be missing stuff and maybe that's what's going on. I don't know, but that again.
So I put the website up, databreaches.net. You recommend?
Yeah.
And what does that tell you exactly?
So that has the latest. Their latest article on Suffolk County has the actual ransom letter that Suffolk County was said to receive from Black Cat and exactly what it says.
It was in English? Did you get to see it?
Oh, yeah, it's up there. Yeah, you can take a look at it. It's there.
Is it a standard ransom message like what we're used to?
Basically, so it went to the point that said, you should. It's actually kind of funny because one of the lines was, you should thank us for finding this problem in the network, so you should pay us a small fee.
Don't you agree with that to some degree? Well, I mean, that's what Guccifer did initially.
Right.
He's like, yeah, I hacked you, but it shouldn't be wide open, right?
Right. So they basically played that game that said, we're doing you a service by asking for a small fee to show your vulnerabilities, right? That they're playing the good side of it.
And now they're criminals?
Well, I mean, they're criminals because yes, I mean, that's like saying I stole all your stuff, and I mean, you still broke into somebody's private information, and so they are criminals.
Mitnick got arrested for that with his 911 scam.
Yeah. So you're still a criminal if you break into somebody's house, even and steal their stuff, and then pretend like you want to give it back to them because they give you $1 million. You're still a criminal. I mean, that's just what it is.
Just a quick conspiracy thought off the beaten path for a second. Gary McKinnon, the famous Irish UFO hacker. He said he found incredible pictures and documentation of a secret space force and all this money being spent. What's your take on what he brought the world? If you remember that Gary McKinnon hacker, the UFO hacker.
So I mean, I think, I don't know that. I don't know it well enough to comment on it. Although, I'm out there to say, if you're not taking care of our stuff and then you put it out there, then that's what we get. I mean, I understand. So I don't know it well enough.
Even back then, the government's stuff was wide open. Multiple hackers had access to it. And I mean, what the heck? I mean, so this cybersecurity is a joke. It's $1 billion-trillion industry, and this is what we're facing. Come on.
Yeah, no, it's a joke, and like I said, to the point at which some people think that I mean, maybe that's the way they want it to be. Maybe if it was really, really secure, and it was really, really encrypted well, and it was really, really archived, and then you could never get rid of anything, and all that stuff would be able to be recovered in public knowledge if you needed it, and there would be no, so maybe they don't want it to be that secure because it's much easier to get rid of it when it's not that secure, right?
I believe the future of cybersecurity is like the great movie and documentary that came out in a year or two. The 50 or 30 kids that got trapped in the cave in Thailand, right? Mm-hmm. The army couldn't save those kids. Specialists. They got a bunch of cave divers from the UK who pulled the entire thing off. In my opinion, this cyber war will be beaten by specialists like me and you, just like those cave divers who rescued those Thailand kids.
If they ever wanted to call us, if they ever wanted to put us together as the Avengers team to do
that would be so cool. We'd look awesome in that outfit,
right?
Man.
To do that kind of stuff and to put those kind of things and to bring the right people in the right room and to create a group of, but I go. You're
going to play Bruce Willis's part.
I go back to this could be IT, this could be the pandemic. Like when it was the pandemic, we had one or two people that we had to listen to. Mm-hmm. They didn't put all the smartest people in the room that all disagreed on how things should go and all said we should do it this and come to a consensus at the end. They said no, we got to listen to just Fauci.
Well, you and I get along here. Does other technologists get along in this region, or just you and I?
I get along with most of the people. I mean that are. I mean most of.
I agree. I'm an ally.
And I know if we all had a central cause to put together to say let's come together, and there are groups like this. I mean that's how NIST was formed, and that's how these other groups were formed.
Good point.
There are good people out there that are putting together these standards. So they're out there. They're just not being listened to, and they're not being put in a room. Suffolk County, Nassau County. They're not saying let's get the greatest minds that work here. They're saying let's find one person to do the one thing that's the Fauci of IT. I mean, it's like, can you trust him? I don't know. He'll say whatever he needs to say.
The Fauci of IT. Wow, that's amazing. I would say the world is filled with the Faucis of IT.
Right.
They kind of just say things and don't really mean it, and then are caught in the background doing something else.
Yeah, but or at their time they were the best, and they're not the best anymore. Or is so willing to say I'm so great at what I'm doing that I'm willing to dismiss all the other people that are also great at what they do. Do you know what I'm saying? All those other people, all those other IT companies, all those other guys that are in the weeds doing it all day long, they're all stupid because I'm the one who's the expert. Well, no, there's no one. You know as well as I do in this industry. No one person knows enough to take care of even small companies nowadays. You need to have some people. Like I have, 30 people that I can bounce stuff off from all the time, and and then you and other people that I can bounce stuff off of, because you need a community to do that. And there's the one person in Suffolk County that's going, nope, I'm the premier person, and we're going to do it. And the politicians are believing them because they're not bringing a round table.
Does the government?
But you remember, like when you were there, I remember going to an event where you brought a bunch of IT people into a room, and we all asked you questions, and we had different, So that was like I'd never seen that before.
the Westchester IT commissioner and 2 others. Yeah, we all worked together.
Yeah, and you all sat in front of us,
Yeah.
and I asked questions, and we spoke, and I was before I even knew who you really were. We weren't friends back then. I didn't even know you really, but I do remember that was something that I.
It's supposed to be that way. My leaders allowed me.
But it's not. It's not that way. It's not a bunch of like, let's commission the best IT people in the room.
I gave a briefing to the 200 employees every year where we were doing this department.
If I'm Balone, right, I like my IT people, but I want to sit in a room of a bunch of other people once in a while that are going to tell me maybe they're doing something wrong, maybe there's something. I want to, that's the point of us being leaders and doing all these things is that we got to hear the other voices to say, okay, maybe you're going down the right path, but maybe you're not. 15 people. 7, 10, 12 of them have a consensus. Okay, that's kind of where I'm going to, or maybe one guy is so far out there because he understands it better than everybody else. And that's something you never heard before. That's not what goes on. They're not putting us, it's not just about me and you and just listening to me and you. Put us in a room and say, what's going on? How come you're not doing this?
You and I can have introspective conversations to go down that rabbit hole. How many people know the business angle, the sales end, and the technology who can have a rounded caring conversation because you got to care about that end user.
Listen, there's plenty of them, but they're generally tend to not be the people that they get or they I don't know.
You're not getting the A team.
No, and I'm also I'm also not somebody who's I don't donate a lot to people's
Is it possible
to
you and I look
campaigns?
down upon because we can't afford a $30,000 or $40,000 check for a campaign?
I'm sure that there's a piece of that. I'm sure that I mean, there's always. I mean, you got to understand. I understand that there's some ability to buy influence, but you can't buy.
What's a
influence
good
and,
campaign?
You can't buy influence with incompetent. You can't be incompetent and buy influence because that's generally what happens. But
how much you have to pay in? You think 10 grand is enough? You got to go to 30, 40. Where do you really get a chance to at least be known?
No, I'm not that like I'll give money to some people that I really believe in that are friends of mine and that kind of stuff. But I'm not
like
going,
$500.
Yeah, a couple $100 here and there. Usually,
that's what I do. A couple.
And I usually won't just give money. I'll go to an event because if I get a couple drinks, I feel like I got something for it, right?
Sure.
But I'm not gonna just hand over.
But you can sponsor the first hole for $25,000.
Yeah, and then you get a $6 million contract. So what's $25,000 worth? I mean, that's the way. I don't know. I don't play that game enough to know how much to spend because I don't spend that. That's not the way you do it. I mean, and it's probably
if you wanted to enter that world, how much of a purse would you think you need?
I don't know that answer because I don't play that game.
Yeah,
it's not the game I want to play. I don't want to be a part of a system that I have to buy myself into.
But sir, you and I fill out RFPs and we don't stand a chance even though we do all the work for the RFP.
I mean, I listen, I guess that's, hopefully once in a while we might win one. I don't know. That's
well, yeah, I mean, I do. That's why we're here.
Yeah, but
yeah, no, it's interesting. I see these big companies that are getting hacked, governments getting hacked, and there's a lot of talent in a lot of cities that these governments ought to be tapping into the younger talent. And again, to make the analogy, like the Thailand kids, it was those British specialists who saved everybody's ass.
But that's the thing. I mean, if you're in government right now and you're not convening task force of bright people to help solve the problems of the private sector like we used to do, and you're just continuing to work with the people that are in the union or
what's worse, those 50 kids over there in the cave or the 1.5 million residents that have to check their credit report right now? What's worse, sir? What's the big fallout?
I mean, listen, it's that's all kind of relative because you don't know how many people are necessarily going to be affected by this or how many people may even die from things like this.
Thailand was smart enough to call in specialists, 3 specialists.
Yeah,
now,
because
Suffolk County's closing the door and staying with who they're working with.
Well, they brought in specialists. They brought in the FBI and Homeland Security. And as far as you and I are concerned, that's just the next level of bureaucracy, right? So maybe, and these guys are big guns. They're smart people doing that kind of stuff, but they're not
a lot of press management there.
They're not people that give really a lot of craps about the constituents of Suffolk County. They care.
Why don't
about
they
whatever
come to us locals and ask us to be their army?
No. Okay.
The FBI should come to us and let us be their army. If they expect the corporate factor to be the front line of cyber defense, let us jump in and be that army.
I don't have a good answer for
We're
that.
more compliant than some of our partners that are larger than us, sir.
Oh, I mean, certainly, and we all know that we have work to do because we're working on it constantly, and it's a game that never ends, right? You don't spend $1 million on keeping your stuff secure and assume that you're never going to spend it again.
Yeah,
That's the problem with this game, right?
Yeah.
But if they went out there and they bought that Palo Alto server and they never set it up, then that's incompetence. That's not, or laziness or.
Let's talk about you for a moment. We're going to end the show in a minute here.
Watch, that product is out there because it includes the products that you should have. And like if you buy TechWatch from us, we used to go clients, oh, you need a backup. Oh, I back up. I put it on a tape and then I put it in my car, and I would be like, but you need to buy that product. And then I went, no. We're going to offer, you get a backup whether you like it or not. You get an antivirus whether you get a centrally managed antivirus. You get patch management, whether you like it or not. These decisions that companies would go, I really don't need that. I can keep this forever. Those decisions get taken away because we're running off of best practices. We're running off industry standards. So
TechWatch is not only managed services with equipment that watches it, but it's a comprehensive review of what's going on
quarterly
to set it
reviews,
up correctly off the
regular
bat.
reviews. But not only that, that beginning of that product now says, when we look at something like TechWatch, we look at a product. This isn't just something, and there are a lot of managed services is very tough to explain to clients the difference between somebody who's charging $700 to do it a month and somebody who's charging $3,000 to do it a month. And it's very hard to say, because somebody will just write on an invoice, managed services, $700 a month, right?
Right, they're meeting the minimums for their insurance claim.
Or you don't even know. You don't know what it is. So, whereas we're putting together a future plan, a roadmap. Where does your business want to be in 3 years from now?
Isn't that the advantage of working with a smaller consultant like you, who has the time and ability to and care to go down that deep?
I mean, I think that's one of the benefits.
I think if you're chasing a sales goal every month, it takes something a little away from you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you have to. You can be a bigger organization that still puts really good people that focus. You can make that your core of the value of your organization, so you can grow and be. There are good businesses out there that do good consulting, but they separate that stuff, right? So they have 3 or 4 of me or you in that organization that does the consulting piece, and I have a couple other. It's not only me. I'm not the only one who does the consulting in my organization. I have other people in my organization that could spend time with the client and give them a roadmap and understand business because they've been doing this for a long time.
Sure.
So it's not just it's not necessarily always about the size.
So TechWatch is your primary service. That's where your entry goal into working with tech.
Yeah, I mean that's basically, so whether they have IT people or they don't have IT people, the TechWatch product either supports those IT people because they don't have enough time to do the help desk services, they don't have enough time to patch the equipment, or
it's a whole management schema that they can add on.
It's a
now, take me about Tech Cloud. What's Tech Cloud?
So Tech Cloud is the product that we use, and it's a generalized product because it can really be a couple different things. We have our own data center that we partner with, where we can put your data in the cloud. If you're migrating, you have old servers and you don't want to be able to, you don't want to upgrade and pay for that equipment, or you don't know if your business might be growing, so you don't know what size server. So most people are moving their stuff up to a cloud environment. Now, for us, that Tech Cloud could be Azure from Microsoft, it could be AWS, it could be our data center that we host with.
Right, but you're going to consult them and find the right answer for what they're doing.
So we're going to move your stuff up to cloud services. And talk about how you can use those services to, if your business, if you don't want to have a building anymore, you don't want to heat and cool that building, you don't want to take care of that stuff, you don't want to update your data. And it's the way the vast majority of people are going. And there's pluses and minuses to that, obviously. If you have no internet, if the internet goes down, if this company doesn't support you well, if those businesses that go out of business because they're not, you have to, there's pluses and minuses to understand about the cloud.
So take a look. I see Check, right, which is like a verification and an audit. How is that different from TechWatch?
So TechCheck is this kind of, so most of our clients, when we go into their businesses, they don't, so you don't know what you don't know, right? So they think that you might buy
Everything's fine here.
You might buy TechCheck. Someone might buy TechCheck from me or something, a product like that, just to test you. They might say, I think Ed's doing a great job. All right. And I just want to know if he's doing a great job.
Yes.
So we have these different levels of saying, okay, well, you and I know pretty well. You walk into a client, and usually within 20 or 30 minutes, you know whether or not. But we'll go through that comprehensively and in different areas. And most of our clients, before they ever buy the TechWatch product, we start with that product and we say, let's just do a small audit for you. Let's do this audit. Let's get on the same page to say, what are your vulnerabilities? Your backups don't really work. this is foundationally you're not ready, and we need to do some work, or and we've had cases where we've gone to clients and said, you're right, they're doing a great job for you. They could fix this here, they could do that there. So that's that kind of like, what don't you know? Like that's that beginning audit, and that goes all the way up to actually doing like HIPAA compliance audits.
But it makes sense. You want to double check your team. I mean, I go to the doctor, everybody gets a second, third opinion.
So what I was talking
Nobody
before,
does. How come Suffolk County didn't get a second opinion? That's what I was talking
about. Where is the person that comes in and does, and then usually some clients will do that so that they know they're going to get audited. Right? They know they're going to have a CMMC audit. They're going to get a HIPAA audit. They're going to have their vendor's going to check them out, or their insurance company, and they'll bring us in and say, get us up to speed first. This is going to cost much less if we, instead of going to KPMG or BDO or one of these companies that's going to, or Ernst & Young, and they're going to run this audit on me and I'm going to look like a fool. Right? So call me up first, and we're going to help you get to the level where that when you get to that audit, you don't look foolish, right? Because we're going to fix most of that stuff up as quick as possible.
So let's say they have an IT guy. They just want to double check him. They buy the tech check from you. Do they have to buy the tech watch if they're happy?
No. And generally our model is that if you do move to the TechWatch product, we're going to credit you some of that time back, because that's going to be like our onboarding.
It'll go against
towards your onboarding
because
of the bill. So generally we look at that and we say, okay, depending on the type of audit that you did, some of these audits can get expensive depending on the size of the organization, number of locations. But if you do go, but what I always tell my clients is I'm going to produce a report that you can hand to any other IT firm. You could give this to Ed, and Ed's going to go, okay, I know how to price this. I see that what they need to have done. I understand. So this isn't something that is I'm giving you and saying, oh, well, if you pay me more money, I'm going to tell you how to fix all this stuff. No, these are the things you need to do. This is the roadmap. These are your good
to operate properly.
So that and I'm going to give you an estimate on how to fix that stuff. Yeah. But you could now take that estimate and walk over to. So it's like an architect building a building, right? I'm going to tell you this is what, and you can go take that out to 5 or 6 contractors to tell you how well, if you trust me enough and you think I'm going to do that work, then I can go out and say, okay, well, we're going to now move that forward. Or you could go over to Ed and say, Ed, this is what another IT provider did on an audit from us, and I want to see if maybe your price is a little bit better. So there's a risk on our side for doing that.
I want to talk about that for a moment, because I've had prospects who we lay out a plan for them. In some cases, we charge nothing for that plan. That I'll get a call back later, 6 months, 8 months later. They bought the equipment that was on the quote, and now they want me to install it.
Right.
Well, it doesn't work that way.
That's why we don't do that. I don't sell free assessment. I can't, because I've been burned by that so many times. What they did was they used me and my consulting time, and they dangled that cherry over our head, or that carrot over our head, and then they went, I can go buy that stuff, or you're screwing me over because Dell's charging me $1,000 less than you, and I put in all the work. You wouldn't have even known where to go, what to buy, what to look at. So I don't play that game anymore, unfortunately.
Well, we had that happen, and then we all of a sudden the guy's like, oh, I got the firewall you told me about. I'm like, all right. Give him a quote for a couple of hours of install. I was like, oh, that's too much.
Yeah, so
I mean, this guy's going to get his ass hacked off.
From my standpoint, even a product. So just as if you're looking at this from an IT consultant side, this is also one way where I get to judge the client. If the client's not willing to pay a small amount to give the amount of data that I'm giving them, the amount of information, the amount of consulting time that is, to be honest with you, valued much more than what I'm charging them for that, then they're probably not a good client to begin with.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like if they're just going, I'm not going to pay $1,000 or $2,000, and you're a $10 million organization, well, okay, well then you ain't going to buy the router that I want to sell you for $5 or $6 grand or $10 grand, or the network, equipment that you need to buy that's $20 or $30. They're not going to buy it. So
I'm at the point that I check my vendors. Everyone must operate that way. If I have a vendor out there for anything who's not following compliance, I want nothing to do with that.
So from our client standpoint, it is a little bit of a test. We might not be the right company for them if they're not willing take to say I'm willing to put somebody in my office to give me some professional advice, because I pay for it all the time. I don't ask companies to come in and give me tons of free advice, right? And not be willing to pay for that if they're going to produce something tangible for me.
So let me ask you, so infrastructure services, you'll go out there and you'll sketch out an entire building, wiring to where the PC should be with the entire layout. What happens if they go back, buy the PCs ourselves and play on that kind of a deal?
So most of the time, so that's the same kind of deal, like where we'll do basic stuff for people. They'll give us blueprints. I mean, for us, most of our infrastructure.
So you'll mark up blueprints.
Yeah, most of the to be honest with you, we can do, and we've done very large, buildings, multi-level.
Yes.
Very large. I mean, we've done
power plants. You name it.
Yeah, we've done very large, but the vast majority of our work is of that stuff is for our clients and planning for our clients or some of our partners that don't have that service. So we don't really get burned too much by that, because we're either bidding a job. We're either bidding a job that, or we're doing a job that we're going to get, and we're charging for that time the same way that we would charge for an audit, because we're now, like, a lot of times, you and I know, I mean, I love architects and that kind of stuff. They sometimes believe that they know how IT works, and they put together plans, and then I look at them and I go, there's no way you could do that. We have to redo that. And sometimes we'll get paid for that work and we'll mark it up for them. And sometimes they're our clients, and when they're moving anyway and they're going to pay us to do that work, or they're already so that's one piece of it, is marking up. And then the other part is that we physically run cables. We got a bucket truck, we got heavy equipment, we trench cables, we do outdoor wiring, we do Wi-Fi, and that's just a separate part of our business that is unique a little bit, because not all of them, it's because I come from that industry. I came from construction. I came from doing that work. I have some people that work with me,
nuances
that I understand how buildings are constructed. I was an estimator, so it's just where I came from. So it's a piece that I still like that. It's one of the few areas in IT where you have a sense of accomplishment, right? Because you built something and you see the rack and the servers and everything looks pretty and all that kind of. Whereas everything else we do, somebody's breaking 5 minutes after we put it out there. I put the computer in, and then it's
so the infrastructure connect is setting up all the hardware, and then you can watch it, you can test it.
And it's access control and security and Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff that we do.
So what's the co-managed IT compared to infrastructure service? Does that compete against each other?
No. So the co-managed IT piece for us is what we were talking about before. You have generally businesses have one of two things, right? When they have an IT person or an IT staff that's there, right? They generally have somebody who's really, really smart, right?
The smartest person on the team,
right? And they can
used to be me,
right? And they can do all the work, and they can program they can do all the engineering, but they don't have time to do the help desk services, right? So they might contract us to be the team that picks up the phone and does the password changes
kind of stuff,
and the patching and all that kind of stuff, and the back end stuff, because that person believes, like we've all did, that we could do everything, and we can't, right? So, or they have maybe some younger people or somebody who doesn't really have all that, but they want to keep somebody on staff, and they need the engineering level. So that's what co-managed IT is for us. It's that.
We see a lot of that.
Yeah. And the third part of that is some clients will ask us to come in and use our best practices to help train their IT staff to function more efficiently, or to build an IT staff for them because they didn't have one before. And we'll show them how things like our ticketing system works and how workflows work. So we were contracted by a very large organization for 5 years to build their IT department from scratch because they didn't have one.
Now, I can attest to this because I know your team. I know your right-hand man. I've seen you operate. I can't see that's a standard for some of the big companies out there who really get a lot of these contracts. There's high turnover. The specialization leaves. The personal care. There's a lot of
There's a lot of outsourcing to India, to other areas, and don't get me wrong.
Is outsourcing to India bad for infrastructure?
It's not that it's bad for infrastructure, and it's not that it's bad if it's not managed well. But I think that what you look at, so what you look at in some cases is companies that pretend to be a lot larger than they are, right? So, I have 40 people, I have 100 people, and those 40 people are just outsourced people that are not really their employees, and that
they're not even full timers.
And so what you get is you get basically salespeople who are just contracting work out. And if some people can do that and manage that very well, and there's not and that's great if you can get a good team working. But you find that there become some problems with that sometimes. Our standard is to we wanted to try to keep as much of that work on Long Island. I mean, we're a Long Island based company. We try to do most of our work here. Our people work here. It's very expensive to do that here.
How can an outsourced engineer possibly understand the needs of your user pool if you got a different guy every night and you got to read off of notes? How can that be productive for anyone?
Listen, if you get really good engineers and you have a good project management
They're
person,
reading the notes the main company left for you.
Yes, but if I'm a good project manager, I can go, your job tonight is to do this, right? And I've run these projects with outsourced people because, we've contracted very, very large jobs that needed to go overnight. And it was I had to, if I'm very diligent about saying the things that I need accomplished for that period of time, then you can do that. It can work. You have to be very diligent about saying, these are the things that I need to have accomplished. I need 25 machines set up tonight, and I expect them to be done, and I monitor them while I'm doing it. And
so it's not troubleshooting; it's project work.
It's project. You're project managing, and you're setting goals and standards, and stuff that we.
How does outsourced help desk to India do for troubleshooting?
Well, like I said, I mean, we did, so for our actual very large client, we actually outsourced, and I didn't outsource to India, we outsourced to North America. We were just north of Seattle, they used to say, but it was in Canada.
Well, sure, they understand the culture, the nuances,
right,
yada, yada.
So we outsourced that stuff, and to be honest with you, it was our job to make sure that they had good information on the clients, and they took information, and they could take that stuff, create like a Wikipedia, and for the most part, we were covering 72 locations around the globe 24/7, and there's no way that I could answer all of those calls. So that worked very well for us because we were
the overlay of those troubleshooting teams. Right,
and we were able to then say all of the level 2 and level 3 could come to my team, and we're not just dealing with past.
So just level 1 basic stuff. They don't need to have any big skills.
So it's not big skill sets. It's really.
But don't you want your level 1 team to be over friendly because those are probably people who are very low skills?
At scale, at smaller clients, yes, that's what you want. You want people to make sure that they're taking good information. But when it's at scale, as you get to these large companies, they don't expect as much. They expect people to be nice to them, and they expect people to have general information and generally be able to troubleshoot them. But most of them just want somebody to pick up the call and solve a problem. So
when I go to my bank, and I won't name any names, they're constantly complaining about their IT support.
Right.
Well, does anybody recognize that the poor IT support the big corporation bought for these branches affects us users?
Yes, but like I said, I mean, in general, there are good help desk systems out there that you can buy. There are better companies and there are good companies and bad companies. We happen to have one that was relatively good for the size of the organization, and there was no other way we would have been able to take care of them.
There's no national standards.
You couldn't hire.
If you had standards in an industry, I think outsourcing would work.
The problem that you also run into with outsourcing, and people, this is one of those dirty secrets, is, okay, so I outsourced all my stuff to India, I outsource it to Brazil, I outsource it to, and I'm a HIPAA compliant company, right? And I'm buying, and I'm not telling you that I'm doing that, but all of your data is now accessible to somebody who's in another country, and that's actually not supposed to be like that. But because I've given them access to a system to be able to do certain things at certain levels, they may have access now to HIPAA materials, and they didn't sign the BAA with you. They didn't sign that, So,
but these compliance requirements say you have to check your third party, and you can't use outsourced to India anything.
Sure. Okay. And as well as I do that still goes on, and these are the questions. This is the way we have to educate people in our industry, and
the minute a claim comes through, that's all discovered.
So you generally, listen, we're working with a client that is doing a big server migration right now, and we're just one small piece in that, and they got a big partner that's taking care of the vast majority of the data, and that partner's not doing the work, and they're a huge company. They just offshored it to somebody else, and we're just that intermediate piece of them, and it's like, all right, well, why we could have just did all this for you, but that's what they went to, right? So So
We
listen,
can't win every deal.
the
but
problem,
look
the
what
real
fallout
problem is, to be perfectly honest with you, the real problem is that we can't find enough talent around here, so we have to outsource some stuff. We can't get it at the price that we need it. And to be honest, and I say this a lot, to be honest, like I'm not being honest regularly, but it's sometimes you're getting actually better talent for much less expensive. I'm getting some better engineers when I've had to do this occasionally, that are much better than anybody that I'm finding in the United States, and they work much harder because they really appreciate the work. And it's like, so it's not always a terrible thing if you got somebody who's really skilled.
This region used to be very nationalistic, and there was a pride to be on Long
Island used to be the Silicon Valley of the East Coast. I mean, we had everybody here: Computer Associates and PeopleSoft and Grumman and Northrop and Canon and Nikon, and everybody was here. Everybody was in Hauppauge and in Melville and we had and in Ronkonkoma and those areas, and we decided that we just wanted to tax them and make everything illegal and make it not fun. And so why we lost all of those companies.
So now the new generation wants nothing to do with this region,
right.
And we're
so
like, what are we going to do?
But there's still a lot of good companies here. There's still a lot of good technology. It's still.
What does your average 20-year-old think about this disgusting hack that's happening to their data, and their parents telling them, stay in Nassau.
I don't think they even know about it. I mean, this hack, unfortunately, maybe
terrible,
there's plenty of other reasons for them to dislike what's going on and not want to stay here.
Yeah,
and
but they haven't heard anything about the hack.
It all has to do with the corruption and the taxes and to be honest with you, okay, I keep saying that.
It's your thing, man. I say, you know what I'm saying? You say, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but
if
you
we're having a real conversation, so you're being overly honest, so it's easy to say.
I look at it from a standpoint that says, it's hard to it's hard and it's not always fun. I mean, they make my brother always says a joke that if it's fun on Long Island, they either tax it or make it illegal. Right?
That's true.
So that's what's going on,
true.
And it's like you can't drive anywhere, you can't do anything. You got to get off the island if you want. So, and that's hard. So
it's where humanity is going anyway.
Why do people want to live on this island? I still think
because they're used to it.
It is still one of the most beautiful places. I mean, if you go to Fire Island, if you go out east,
the roads suck.
But it's still a beautiful area.
And they got little bridges with special meaning on them.
Right. And my community, we've had lots of tragedy, and we've had I've the best people that I could ever imagine. And I can't imagine communities that would treat me better. So there's great people that live here, hardworking people that want to see this island grow.
I have to agree, actually.
And unfortunately, to be honest with you, it's the politicians that are kind of ruining it. And but there's so many good people that are doing such hard work, and hopefully we get better. And I know that there's better politicians out there. I talk to some of these people, but. I think our government's failing us at a lot of levels, not just at cyber
technology doesn't have a front seat in the political conversation.
Yes. I would have to agree with you that it is.
And the same old cronies are running these operations.
And there's a lot of, like everything else. I mean, they deal with technology like they deal with the roads.
That's very sad, sir.
We can just patch it. We can get away with not doing it. We can, if we don't do it well enough, then there'll be another reason for us to get more money later, and we can dole out that money to our constituents, and then they'll vote for us. And so I think that there's that same kind of, not really trying to fix it right, not really trying to do it, and
we're the answer.
Maybe they're stuck too.
You're the answer, but you're the answer, giving people like you the chance.
Yeah.
Allowing you to exercise your stuff. You don't have to be by yourself. Get a bunch of small guys.
And they're like, there might be really good. And I know, like I said, with one of the townships that we work with, there are some really good, really smart people that want to see the best going on and want to do the best kind of work. And there's one or two people above them that aren't going to allow that to happen. But they're not going to make waves. They're not going to do that because they want to keep their jobs, right? So it's a tough situation, because I know that. Given the opportunity to work with us versus the other vendor, they would be happy to do better work, and they'd be happy to do more stuff, and they'd be happy to advance the systems and make them secure, and they want to do that stuff. But they're playing the game that they've been, that they're in. And that's unfortunate. And that's, for me and you, that would be hard. We probably wouldn't exist there very long, because we would either upset the apple cart, or leave because nothing was getting done.
Do you encourage a politician to take a risk and lead with technology as a talking point?
Is it? I mean, I don't know that it's really a risk. I think leading.
They find
but
it's risky, and they don't do it now.
It's not just a technology issue. This is a lead with actual, with some kind of real standards, how you're going to treat people, what we should be doing, not wasting them, good stewards of anything that they're designed to take care of. And they're not being good stewards, not good stewards. I mean, as whether you like Levy in the past, he left Suffolk County with this huge bank of money, and we blew it all. That's not being a good steward of our money, I mean, obviously there's so we had all this money.
Unstoppable power.
We had all this money when one person left, and all that's gone.
What are you and I going to do about it?
And we spent it on. Obviously, did we spend it on roads? I don't know. Our roads are crappy. Did we spend it on IT? I don't know. Our ITs are crappy. Did we spend it on, what did we spend it on,
Salaries and pensions. I do have to agree, though, that possibly in compared to other places around the world, in the country, it's a pretty safe place to live.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely pay for, we pay a lot of money for our police, and we pay a lot of money for our education, and we generally have less problems with that stuff. There's always pockets of that. We pay a lot of money for that stuff. Is that
good enough of an out to say it's still good, even though the roads are shitty and the taxes are high?
The problem is that it's unsustainable. It's not that it's good or bad. The problem is that you can't be a 30-year-old and buy and not have two people that have to make very good incomes. Otherwise, you're leaving here. So you're
Isn't
losing
that the case
blue
all
collar.
over?
You're losing the middle class of Long Island, and Long Island is being left to. And you can see this. You see this in the Southamptons, because Southampton and those areas around there, as much as they were the Hamptons, they were really working class. And now that same Southampton house that used to be $800,000 just sold for $3 million because the people in Manhattan wanted to get out and rich people want. So that's this progression moving, of saying that, if you think about it, my father on Long Island bought his house for $30,000, and that was in like 1968 or something like that. I paid $30,000. But that's the point of that's not the story. The point of that is that house was less than double of what his income was, right? So he was making $20-something thousand a year. He bought a house for $30,000. He put a mortgage on it. Sure, he's probably paying 6 or 8% on top of that, but it was less than double of his salary, and his taxes were probably $800, right? Now, that same person that's making that $24,000 salary, that's now $150,000 salary, can buy a house for $450,000. That's 4 times their salary that for the same house, right? So how is that sustainable? And they're now going to have high interest rates, and they have taxes that are $13,000. So it's like, that doesn't make any sense.
But how does it end? There's no end. What's the end?
At some point, it all collapses, right? Or at some point, somebody comes in and makes real changes.
The state keeps giving money into the county. That's the only answer, I guess. Or we just take advantage of everybody who could pay. I don't know.
That's I don't know. I think that there are answers. There are solutions. There are hard conversations like everything else, whether it's on IT or with our, we can't afford to pay all of this money or pensions, and we have to do some things, and we have to start changing. But there's a lot of powerful people, and
what an incredible story from what happened here, 100 years ago, and the Lem, and Charles Lindbergh. Yeah. What a sick area, and it all just. It's like gone. It's like Detroit. It's like a wasteland, and it was the number one
I don't know
auto
that it's
center.
there. I don't know it's a wasteland. I don't know that it's done. And we've seen even Detroit can come back to a certain degree. I mean, when people get together and decide what their values are and what they're willing to spend money on and what they shouldn't spend money and save money on, and we all kind of have somebody who's actually guiding us with a real plan and saying we're Long Islanders, and we have this kind of one Long Island concept that we're all in this together and we're not these little fiefdoms, and we shouldn't, the budgets of IT, maybe they all can be shared to get better services for everybody.
Amen.
And we can start thinking of as Long Island as a region and as its own entity
what
again.
effect do these individuals who work town by town, there's a lot of political people who've done some very good work bringing these towns up, but what does that have to do with Long Island on a whole? I think you're grazing these little towns. Farmingdale's better, Patchogue's better.
Well, I mean, they're good. They're good incubators for how to make changes inside a town, but the system as a whole that is on top of it is still very. I mean, you think about the town of Brookhaven, right? The town of Brookhaven, I can't get FiOS in the town of Brookhaven, right? It's a but the FiOS runs right.
FiOS is awesome.
Well, I mean, it's coming in now, but this is years and years and years of, 15 years of me trying to get, since FiOS has been around.
Yeah.
The FiOS cable runs right past my house into the village of Patchogue, because the village of Patchogue is incorporated and said we don't have to run by the same rules, but it's literally going right past my house and I'm not allowed to get it.
You'll have the same thing with legalized recreational marijuana. One town will allow it, the next town over won't. It'll be the same thing with recreational marijuana.
And some of that's okay. But some of it's real stupid, right? I mean, if a town decides they don't want recreational marijuana, then okay. But
that's stupid. Then you just drive to 10 minutes north and you're good. You're saving by that. You're hurting your own tax base.
The problem is not that. The problem is the fiefdoms that are created by these things. My power zone that I control is these little tiny fiefdoms that I want my IT people with my stuff to do my things. And I don't care if they do it right, because I can control their stuff, whatever. So it's the fiefdom, and not saying that I'm part of a bigger cog of this kind of like this one Long Island concept that we talk about that says, listen, this is a region that we should start to think of us. We have a lot more. So there's reasons, and I always say that there's reasons to have both small. There's why, it's why from my standpoint I don't like centralized healthcare. I'd rather each state decide how they want to do it, because if a state screws it up, then we learn from that state, and this other state can do it better.
Yeah, improve over time.
One state wants to have it, and then you get these ideas. You get all like I said, we bring lots of different people with lots of different ideas together. The problem is, what we have is not a lot of people with a lot of different ideas coming together. We have a lot of people who want to protect their ideas and their power and this goes for the business groups on Long Island that all want, there's so many business groups that all want to protect their own little thing, and I don't want to play with all the other groups that are out there. And it goes for the townships, and then it goes and then up at the county level, we have no say anymore, because we're all just saying, I want my stuff, I got my stuff, I'm good. And they go, okay.
Yeah, but Chris, hang on a second. Look at the VC market. Everybody's like, I can't wait to sell my company. They get these consultants in and they sell this company, or they get acquired by somebody else. The risk of lack of personal attention to that employee who's given their life is very high. And this region is strewed with results of that behavior.
Yes, and once again, there are good and bad companies. I know companies that have been bought by venture capital, and the employees have gotten better, right? Their work has gotten better.
In many cases, they get thrown out, and the better guy gets picked.
Right. In some cases, the company is stronger because they've done that and they've done good work. I mean, I work with some of these people who invest in these organizations, and they bring me in as an IT person now to fix what they weren't getting before. So that might make these companies stronger. So it's not always the negative side. It's never about. It's not always about. It's never about the size. It's about the values. Always. It's big values. You can have a small company that treats their employees crappy, right? You can have a big company that treats their company. So it's always about the values, and hopefully, I mean, you take a look at a company like Rackspace, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, here's a company that got very, very large, and everybody still loved to work there. And then you take another company like Datto, which was a company that was a backup company. Sure. Everybody loved this company; they were a great company to work for. And then they got bought by Kaseya, and now everybody. So it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about size; it's about values. It's about how we treat people. It's all about that stuff. It's never about size. It's about wanting to do things as correct as possible, as well as you can, and not just being in it for your own power and your money. Because I know small companies that the owner makes millions of dollars and they don't take care of their customers at all, and I can and I know, and I talk to these people. I'm like, why you stay there? They're abusing you. It's like, and people stay for that stuff, and that's so. It's like,
So let me ask you a final two questions, because we're running a little long here. But if you were standing at the legislature, and the head legislator asked you, "What advice do you have for us?" What will be the first 2 or 3 items that you would say to them if they asked you your opinion about what you should do? And secondly, what should another government learn from what happened here?
So my advice is the same thing. I mean, let's audit the place. Like, that's it. Assume that we don't know anything, right? And let's assume that everything that everybody was telling you was either, and I don't say maybe a lie, or they didn't have the best intentions, but they don't know what they're doing, or they just made a mistake. Let's assume that, and let's get a baseline. Let's set a baseline audit and really audit the entire system. And then we can, because then we can't, then we're just working on, you're just putting out some fires and you're just stopping some little things. And that it's pandemic across the whole system, right? It's an epidemic across that whole system. So if you don't start with that, and for everything that we do in life, I mean, we have to assess where we really are. And somebody's got to kind of say, all these assumptions that you made are correct, fantastic, or they're wrong, fantastic. Now we know what to work on. So everything to me almost always starts with, what is our baseline so we can get on the same page and work on the same problems together, as opposed to the problem that I like and the problem that you want to fix. One guy wants to fix the infrastructure. Okay, great, we fixed the infrastructure, all the servers suck. Well, one guy wants to go get a new piece of software. Okay, we got a new piece of software, but we didn't implement it correctly. Like, it makes them feel good about it. So
did Suffolk County do regular pen tests from what you know?
I would assume no, that was I don't know the specific.
When I was at NASA, we did regular pen tests, and they continue on the same practice today. I don't believe they're doing regular pen tests. I don't think,
but to me, it's not just, you didn't need to do a pen test to know that this organization, I mean, people that I know there knew that there was somebody doing crypto. There was a cryptocurrency miner on the network for months before they caught it, right? The only reason they caught it was because the electricity spiked. So there were people that surf the web on their things for things that they should not be surfing for.
Sometimes you
didn't need a penetration test. I didn't need a penetration test to tell you that this was going to happen, right?
Where's management to trickle down that important stuff they need to do?
It's not. Running. I mean, and I know running a business with a lot of people. The message doesn't always get down there. I mean, I struggle with this regularly with my organization. I stand in front of them. I try to give them vision. And then I come back and I'm like, we just talked about this, right? And you're doing something completely different than what we just talked about. And you have to kind of, so it has to be repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated. And somebody has to make us feel that maybe they're watching us a little bit, maybe that the system's actually doing the things that we're doing, and that you shouldn't. And it's
exactly.
Listen, if you're a government employee, right? And you're like, I can go to work and I can hide all day long, and I don't have to do that stuff, and I don't care if my systems work, and I don't care if, then that's a bad thing at the personal level. You're willing to take advantage of the people that pay you money.
The governments are allowing that.
But it's also a bad thing at the management level because nobody's watching them, and they're letting them get away with it. So
government structure breeds that behavior.
And you can say it's corruption, but there's something wrong with people, and I know these people. Like
the capitalistic union situation breeds that behavior.
It's not really capitalism anymore. It's cronyism, and it's a different thing. And people are willing to look past it because they're powerful. They got to vote. I mean, it's who gets the it's all these things go on, right? So but that's a problem with us as human beings, right? I remember having a conversation, and I went one time to a conservative event, and I generally lean towards the conservative side, and I don't go to these events regularly, and for political, because I find them kind of
whatever
off-putting. But I went to a conservative party event, and I remember saying, talking to one of the guys, and he's talking to people, and he goes, ever since so-and-so got into office, I don't have to do anything anymore. All right? We have a barbecue on Friday. I work like 20 hours a week. I get paid. and I turned around and I go, this is the conservative party, right? Like, so that's that's across the board, right?
Yeah.
That's somebody who is looking to do nothing
Yes.
and to not. So and
Participate in any way.
right, and that's an internal problem with the type of people that we're breeding, or that we're we lost our capacity, our soul.
Let's wrap up the show and just say that we had some interesting conversation. I think we can go on and on about the effect here. The problem is, it's very real. The unions, the way the governments are working, are far less effective than your average business. And I'd be very concerned about my data that's up there. Do you agree that working with aliases has value going forward in the next year or two, to kind of use aliases when you're online, or fake names and make other identities?
To be honest with you, I don't know that matters anymore, because the systems that we're on, like I'm someone who tries to do this stuff. I run VPNs. I run, I block all the content that I can. I do that stuff. And you do not realize how many systems are connected that are taking your data. And I can prove it because I block almost everything on my phone, so that it makes it very even difficult to do that. And I use but when I'm typing on that keyboard, and that keyboard is actually quick typing stuff for me, that means that it went out to a server, and it knows I'm typing my password, and it has my password, and it knows I'm typing that alias, and it has my alias. So as much as you can, again, lower your footprint, this stuff is not designed for you to be private. I have to turn off lots, and I go through every single service on my phone and go, and I have a piece of software. I use a piece of software. It's called Glasswire. You want to take a look at what's going on this? This piece of software goes, first network activity, network. I'm like, why does this keyboard software need to be on all the time, giving all my data out? So I don't know. That's not the answer, right? The answer is we need like a digital privacy. We need a digital privacy bill of rights. We got to ask these companies to be good stewards and only take the data that they need. And when they have that data, take care of that data and tell me where it is and what you're doing with it. Like those are the rights that we should have, because it's our data, not theirs.
I have a feeling that the laws
until
and the
we
rights,
break everybody's mindset of saying, I have nothing to hide. I have nothing. No,
the
it's
laws
your
on those
data.
rights for data are politically locked up. Look what's going on with that stuff.
This data, this Suffolk County data. That's not Suffolk County's data.
It's our
That's
data.
our data, right? And we have a right to have it, make sure that it's protected. We have a right to know what was lost.
But if you talk to attorneys about doing something about it, it's on the low end of the totem pole compared to all the other lawsuits.
They don't understand it. And too many people. You're just starting to see an awakening about this stuff. So I have a lot of hope that this is going to change. You're just starting to have people now understand, because the new generation using this stuff is starting to understand a little bit that the amount of data that these companies are taking from us and doing whatever they want with, and maybe people are starting to get a little bit more savvy. Maybe people like me, we're just giving out this data, and they get to do whatever the hell they want. And they make millions of dollars. How come I don't make any money off of my data? What, I get some free app or something like that? No, because how about I choose what data I want to sell to you and get some money?
We're moral individuals, and we carry our morality to our work and data, which is not something I can say for all competitors.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think that these companies they make so much money off of mining our data, and they say that there's no way to put it together, but this company has this information, this company has that information, this company and the third party company, they know where you are, they know what you're doing. So
how do we have our private clients more secure than the entire government? I mean, think about it. It can be done. You and I are proving it.
Yeah, it can be done.
Think about it.
And like I said, I mean,
jeez.
If somebody wants to get me, you, anybody, and they really hell-bent on doing it, they'll find a way to do it, right? It's just the truth. I don't care how great we are. Something's not patched. They know something we don't know. The goal for all of this stuff is to put in as best practice as you can. Correct. So that they try to go somewhere else, or you make it difficult for them, that it doesn't become valuable enough to do it anymore. Correct. But right now, it's incredibly
lock your door properly.
But lock your door. It's like you lock your door and you have a safe, right? That's so if you lock your door and they get in, then you put your valuables in the safe. If you just lock your door and you don't have a safe and you just throw your valuables on the floor, then the cleaning people are going to take it. You know,
how far are you from zero tolerance in most systems?
Oh, I think we're pretty far. I think people can't buy into that, and I think it's not easy to implement. Although I would love to do it, it's very expensive to implement right now. But I think that's the way you're going to start seeing.
You and I grew up with that, with local area networks not connected to the internet. We started there.
Yeah, but then the world happened and the internet happened, and I mean, listen, I used to. A cookie on a machine? Like when I was an IT director, those cookies, I had browsers that would wipe cookies out of machines all day long. Like we didn't have cookies on machines. We didn't have these browser hooks but you can't even function without them anymore. Your systems don't even function with these tracking softwares. But if you were on my old network, that machine got rebooted. Every time it got rebooted, it wiped the crap out of every. You can't run like that anymore. You can't do it. It doesn't make sense anymore.
Is it valid to think that in the future every cloud vendor will have a VPN requirement for that user?
To be honest with you, I think we can get better than VPNs for that users. I think that there's better options. There's a lot of new services coming out there that
are secure tunnel to that cloud service.
But they're even better than that. They're sandboxed applications that. This application, if I'm using my home computer to log into a product that your business is selling me, that application never actually is. It's functioning virtually on that machine.
Right.
And if that machine gets 100% hacked and corrupted, it never touches the network because it's just a window into an image on that machine and nothing else. So there's all new products that are coming out that are really these I used to use a product called Sandboxy all the time, right? And you can't. It's not there anymore. But that product was like anytime I wanted to start something up that I thought was stealing my data or could possibly be, I would run Sandboxy. I'd load that application up. As soon as I turned it off, it was gone, and there was no way for it to infect my machine because it used certain file types and algorithms to do things that that allowed it to never actually touch the rest of the equipment. So I could put any virus I want on that machine, and I could run viruses all day on my computer, and there was no way for it to touch my computer, right? Because of the way they were designed. And that's stuff.
Look, we're having trouble ending the show because there's a lot of interesting things to talk about. But before the last question, I promise. How come people aren't talking about the Bloomberg big hack?
How come they're not? I don't know. How come they're not talking about any of these hacks?
How come they're not talking about these chips that the Chinese government put on thousands of servers that they found at Amazon.com that were reporting back to a company that worked with the Chinese government?
So, once again, I mean, does it go
like Suffolk County is just a media control?
Yeah, I mean,
PR control.
I think. Maybe because some of the people that put it there are in bed with, they're okay with it. You know what I'm saying? Like they knew it was happening. That's the only things that I can think of. I mean, if we take this out to the real geopolitical, are our politicians really American politicians anymore, or are they globalist politicians? And they're okay with that stuff because they got paid to do it, and they were part of the system, and they were investing in these companies that did those things. And the second piece of it is, did we do that when we were manufacturing the stuff? And because we knew, and this is something we knew years ago, when we were manufacturing, when we were the leading manufacturer, we were doing the same things with our chips, and that's why we could go into some of these companies. So were we doing the same thing, and they're just playing that game against us?
Wow.
We were doing it. And
we're the one with the short-term memory.
I think. Personally, we are now reaping the benefits of what we thought was the game that we could play. We were the only one that could play that game because we were the biggest and the baddest. And then technology happened, and then we politicians started sending our data, and manufacturing started out there, and now they're playing that same game against us. So maybe we weren't the most moral people in the world, or our government wasn't being a good steward to the rest of the world, and now it's getting played against us.
What does Suffolk County owe the constituents when this is over?
At least they owe. So I'm gonna hit that up a little bit. What they owe us now is somebody telling us that they got our back right now, that they're actually somebody really competent doing something, and that they're going to do somebody to look us in the eye and say, "I got this," right? Even if they don't tell us what's happening, they're going, "I'm your man." because that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what's going on, but I promise you, when this is all over, I'm going to do the best to say, and we're going to hold people accountable, and we're going to do that stuff so that when it is over, we know what happened, how it happened, what we did to recover from it, and we can educate Nassau County and other counties not to do the same things that we did, so that there is some real audit at the end of this.
They're currently just blaming the Black Cat group and not taking any personal responsibility.
So somebody needs to stand up and say, like I said, I am willing to have somebody come up to me and say, I can't tell you what's going on right now, but I'm going to tell you at the end of this, we're going to be 100% transparent, and we're going to tell you what happened, and we're going to, and all this stuff, and we're going to show you, and people are going to be able to audit that. But they're not.
I'll buy that.
Right, I would buy that. That's not what we're getting. What we're getting is deflection and hidden, and a little tiny article in the patch that 60 people saw. And like I said, I love the patch, but that's ridiculous. That maybe 5,000 people saw that.
Right,
of that,
it's completely insignificant on a larger
because
scale.
even of those 5,000, 50 people might actually do something about it because they're the only ones who actually know what to do about it. Like, I mean, like, come on.
Right.
You know?
It's in the patch. It's not in the New York Times.
They should be can they do it for us? You know?
Well, Newsday wrote about it a little bit. They wrote like an article or two about it.
A little. This is one of the biggest things to ever happen to this town ever. This is a hurricane in IT form.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like, this is a hurricane in IT form.
Which is what concerns me, because if non-political people consider this as a hurricane, are they going to milk it the way they did the hurricane or use those thoughts?
I mean, somebody's going to, like I said, I mean, it's...
Although if it's a hurricane, they'd be going on TV every 4 hours and telling us what's going on. So it's not like a hurricane.
Well, because there's a difference between a hurricane. A hurricane wasn't...
The IT weather report.
Wasn't a disaster made by them. Do you know what I'm saying? Right? We're the victims of the hurricane. To be honest with you, we're not really... we are the victims of this hack, but because of our incompetence... and because of our not being a good steward. So you can go back and you can look at it like the hurricane that, hit Louisiana and took out, okay, we had all the time in the world to fix that up. And I mean, if the Dutch did it for years, they have well below, they get hit with, they didn't design they didn't design that to just take, 100-year hurricane. They designed it to last